Nothing gets our heart rate pumping fast as it does when we witness our children fight and scream over toys, whether it's with their siblings, their friends, their peers, or their cousins. I mean, it can be so exhausting and frustrating to be a witness to their endless toy battles. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing 5 important things to keep in mind when it comes to sharing and toy battles. So let's discuss. Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Jasmine. I'm a clinical psychologist and mom of 2. And after this video, be sure to download my free positive parenting checklist bundle. It's full of practical tips and scripts on how to handle the most difficult parenting moments like tantrums, aggression, and not listening. So check the link in the description or in the comment section to download your free bundle. Okay, so the number one thing to consider and to remember when it comes to sharing, which sharing, by the way, is when there's only one thing, right? There's only one of the item or the toy that they want, and the other person wants it, right? So when it comes to sharing, it's really important to remember and keep in mind that, especially for the little ones, I'm thinking the babies and the toddlers, it is developmentally inappropriate to expect children to share. And the reason why is because children are naturally around this age very egocentric, okay? They're very focused on themselves. So you often hear mine, mine, mine. It's all about me, 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 because that is the developmental stage that they're in, right? They're coming to form their own identity. They're coming to understand themselves, what they like, what they don't like. And so when it comes to toys, I mean, it's theirs, right? If they can see it, if it's yours, it's theirs. If it's theirs, it's theirs. And so a lot of the times, us as the adults, I think what happens is when we see that another child wants it, whether it's our other child or it's our cousin, you know, the child's cousin or a peer, we feel this internal pressure for our child to share. And so we will exert that control, try to exert our own influence on that situation, but forgetting that developmentally speaking, it's not appropriate to expect your child to share. Now, it's not to say that your child will never share when they're a toddler, right, or preschooler. It's just that it takes time and it takes practice, and don't expect it to be a consistent practice. And so around 4 and 5 is when they can come to understand that, oh, other people have different wants and needs and feelings than I do, right? They begin to understand that, okay, my needs and wants and feelings are different. They're separate from somebody else. And so that's when they're more likely to share, when they can actually have that empathy and put themselves in that other person's shoes to be like, okay, I want to share now, right? And it comes from a good place, because the thing about it is if we force our child to share, they're going to develop this scarcity mindset, right? Because they're like, oh my gosh, there's never enough time. There's never enough toys for me. Everything's always getting snatched away. I don't have any control over it. And so they're going to want that thing even more, right? Think about us in our own lives, right? When we feel like there's not enough of something, we cling on to it even more, and our children are no different, especially in that egocentric mindset. So the second thing to consider and to keep in mind is that children, and the way that I operate is children are allowed to have or play with the toy for however long they need. It's more about taking turns than it is about sharing, right? It's more about, okay, when I'm done with the toy, I'll let you know, rather than, okay, now you've got to share, right? Oh, timer's up. Now you've got to give up what you're playing with and give it to somebody else. The important thing that I want you to keep in mind about play is that it is our child's form of work. When they are playing, they are working, they are learning, right? They are thinking about complex things like cause and effect, right? Like logical reasoning. They're learning important concepts like counting when they stack up the blocks, right? And find and do other things. And so I don't want you to lose sight of that. So when you force a child to give up what they're playing with, give up what they're using as a tool to learn, you're interrupting that learning process, right? And so instead, it's more about helping them learn how to take turn. And the other child, right, who is waiting for that toy is learning a very valuable thing, and that is patience, right? How to wait your turn. Because in life, you're not always going to get what you want right away. There's going to have to be some patience involved in the process. And so what an important and valuable skill to teach your child, if they're the one that wants the toy, how to wait their turn. So very important, right? How to take turns, right? How to give up something when you're done with it, and how to wait their turn when they want something but somebody else is using it. Number 3 really important thing to keep in mind when it comes to sharing and toy battles is to teach the child who is waiting, one, how to wait patiently, and that might be something very often that you'll have to help them with, right? And coach them along, be right there with them, redirect them to another activity, validate their feelings of frustration, impatience, right? Anger, but also you want to teach them how to communicate with the child who is using the toy that they want. So you can teach them how to say things like, let me know when you're done, you know, I'd love to play with it, let me know when you're done, or hey, would you like to trade, right? How about this for that, right? So you're teaching them a very valuable skill of negotiation. So this can start as early as toddler years, right? They can learn how to communicate and negotiate with that other person. And if the child's like, no, I don't want that, I'm still done, I'm still playing with this, then they learn, okay, it looks like they're not ready yet, let me know when you're done, okay? The number 4 thing to keep in mind when it comes to watching your children play is to really tune your mind in and train your mind to notice when they do share, when they do take turns, when they do communicate, right? When they do all the things that we're hoping that they will learn. I think we miss those opportunities a lot of the times because we're focused on the bad, right? We're focused on the negative, like, okay, they're fine, I can step away. And then we only come in when they're fighting and screaming and grabbing things. But it's really important to be mindful of and point out when they are playing well with each other, and to verbally say, wow, I love how much teamwork you guys are having. I love how you guys are taking turns. You guys are talking this through. I knew you can do it, because that's going to make them want to do it even more. The other thing to point out is the positive effects that come out of their teamwork and they're playing well together and communicating. Wow, he or she looks so happy when you gave the trade when you were done with it. Thank you so much for doing that, right? So that they can begin to learn, again, those pro-social skills and the positive impact of their choices. Now, again, it's not to say that we're rushing them along and we're sending that message. You want to be careful in your praise that you're not sending them that message of, oh yeah, you should be sharing all the time. No, it's, hey, you can play with it for however long you need, and you know, when you're done, let her know, let him know. It looks like he's very excited to do it. Or maybe you guys can play with it together. You want to get creative, but you don't want to praise or overpraise the sharing or the taking turns to the effect that your child's like, oh, okay, this is what I'm just supposed to be doing. This is what is expected of me to do. So there's a balance there, okay? And you always want to also be praising the other child for waiting their turn. I know this is frustrating, but I know you really want to play with that. Oh, I get it. Oh, that looks so fun. Yes. And thank you so much for waiting your turn. She looks so happy playing with it, and then it'll be your turn to play with it. Now, let's talk about number 5, which is the toy battles and the snatching. Okay, because I know that's really hard in the moment. You're like, what am I supposed to do? You kind of feel like you're caught in the middle and you don't know what to do a lot of the times. So let's talk about that. Okay, so whenever there's a conflict, my overarching principle is to do less as the adult, right? Do as little as possible in terms of the conflict. And here's why. If we are the adult that's always jumping in to save the day, decide who's right and who's wrong, who gets the toy and who doesn't, then they're going to depend on us to solve their conflict. And that is going to actually backfire, right? It's going to make it more likely that when they're having a disagreement, you're going to hear, Mommy, Daddy, Grandpa, Grandma. You're going to hear them calling for you because they're used to you jumping in and always deciding what happens, right? Always solving the conflict for them. So Of course, the younger that they are, they're gonna need more of your help, but over time, and especially as you practice this, you want to get into the mindset of, I'm gonna step back and I'm going to observe and I am going to support and encourage, but I'm not going to solve for them. Okay? Very, very important distinction. So what you can do as your observer self, and the number one thing to help slow things down, because oftentimes when we see this toy snatching, we feel like it's an emergency, right? I've got to solve this right away. There's screaming children, especially sometimes when you're out in public, you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? All eyes are on me. And so we very often will rush in with a lot of urgency because we feel like it's an emergency and we want to make it stop. So we have to fight that urge. And one of the helpful things to do in that moment is to simply describe what you see. Slow down. It's going to help you slow down. It's going to help your children slow down and just describe what you see. Wow, you guys both want that toy. Wow, you were playing with that toy and then he wanted that toy and now you guys are upset. Whatever you see. Now, if you didn't see it, you can describe what you see in that moment and then invite them to tell you the story. Can you tell me a little bit about what happened? Because so often too, we're rushing and we're making assumptions about things we didn't even see. Okay, and that's a very good way to make the other child feel left out, feel judged, feel like you're not on their side. Okay, so it's really important that we keep in mind as adults, our job is not to decide who's bad and who's good, who's right and who's wrong, who gets a toy and who doesn't. A lot of the times. And so sportscast, slow yourself down, slow the children down in that moment. Now, I want to preface this by saying that if it ever becomes aggressive or hurtful or dangerous, of course, you want to always step in those moments and keep everybody safe, establish some boundaries, establish some limits. So, of course, I'm not saying, okay, if they're getting aggressive, just sit back in sportscast. No, because always when there is issues of safety, it's our jobs as adults to establish safety. And also, I will say, if it becomes a pattern, right, and over, they're fighting over the same thing, that's your cue that they need some more adult intervention, if you will. And one of the most important things to keep in mind, especially if it's repetitive and it's a pattern, is what are they trying to communicate, right? What's motivating that behavior? What are they trying to get at, or what is their unmet need? So I'll give an example. So a lot of the times, especially for the little ones, they'll snatch toys not because they're trying to be mean or malicious. It's because they're trying to initiate play with the other child, but they just don't have the language. They don't have those skills to do that. And so a lot of the times it looks like snatching things away. And so you can invite them, oh, I think you're trying to play with them. Is that right? Oh, okay. You can say, hey, will you play with me? Or do you want to play with me? Or do you want to play this? Or do you want to play that? So you want to try to work with them to increase their social skills by learning new ways to get their needs met from others, new ways to communicate what they want and what they need. So keep that in the back of your mind. And maybe it has nothing to do with the interaction. Maybe they have an unmet need, like they're tired or they're frustrated or they need more connection from us, but really they're lashing out from their, with their sibling or their cousin or whoever. So you want to kind of in the back of your mind, especially if it's a pattern, is think about, okay, what do they need maybe from me, or what's driving this behavior? Let me peel back the layers and not just look at the behavior, but what's driving it, right? Because remember, and like I always say, behavior is just a form of communication. So always ask yourself, okay, what are they trying to communicate to me? If that behavior is a communication, a way to communicate with me, what are they trying to say to me? What are they trying to say to that other person, if you will? And other times what is needed is for us to stay close by, get on their level, and help them through these interactions. So even before they happen, if we're close by and we see our child trying to reach for somebody else's toy, you can slow them down. Oh, are you trying to play with that? Oh, you want to play with the elephant? Okay, you can ask, hey, can I play with the elephant? And if the child even just gives you some nonverbal communication, even if they don't flat out say no, but they're like, or giving you some signs that they are still playing with it, you want to help your child read those cues. Oh, it looks like they're still playing with it. okay, you can tell him or her, let me know when you're done, right? And so you're basically walking them through the process of what it looks like to ask for a turn and to wait for a turn, and how to communicate with their friends or their sibling or whoever. So a lot of the times what happens, and I'm guilty of this too, is we walk away, we're like, okay, they're playing, we're gone, we're in another room, or we're, you know, in the kitchen somewhere, and they're having all these arguments, and we're so far away, we don't know what's going on, and we're kind of removed from the situation. So especially if it's a pattern, that's your cue. Okay, if you're able to, maybe you can sit down with them and you know, kind of help them through the process, play along with them, and teach them those skills. Because that can go a long way. So let's talk about the scenario where your child has already snatched a toy away from another child, and it's very clear to you that the other child really wants that toy back, and you really feel like, okay, I need to intervene. Maybe I'm thinking like in public for sure, right? Where you're like, okay, I need to do something, right? I can't just walk, you know, stand back and just sportscast. So in that moment, what I recommend you do is start with narrating what you saw. I always will recommend this to be your first approach, is to slow down. That's the most important thing, because we can't think clearly, and our child is going to have a hard time thinking clearly if we're rushing in, right? And everybody is panicking like this is an emergency. It's not an emergency. So narrate what you saw, right? As long as, you know, people aren't getting hurt. Of course, that's different. And then you want to say something like, oh, it looks like your sister or brother or your friend or whoever really wants that toy back. What do you think we should do? Okay, very important step, because what you're doing is you are, one, showing your child, right? You're labeling what that other child is feeling. Oh, they feel really sad that they don't have that toy. What do you think we should do? Then you're inviting them to problem solve, which is so important, again, right? Because our number one job as a parent is to work ourselves out of a job, okay? So you want to more and more invite your child to get curious, right? To problem solve on their own. So you can say something like, what do you think we should do? This also is really important because it is showing your child that you trust in them to solve problems, which is really important, right? Because so often, if we're not careful, we can just be conveying to them, oh, they can't be trusted to solve their problems. I'm going to come in and solve it for you, okay? So, of course, a lot of the times they're not going to know what to do, and that's okay too, but it's part of the process. It's part of the habit that you're building to throw that ball back in their court and invite them to problem solve. Okay, so you come in, you narrate, ooh, looks like your friend feels really sad. They really want that toy back. What do you think we should do about that? And then you pause, pause for a beat, listen in if they say something. And if they don't know, or they say something that is not to the effect of, let me give that toy back, then you can say something like, I think we should give the toy back, right? And wait our turn. And here's the other crucial part. Would you like to give the toy back, or do you need my help? Very important. You're giving your child control by giving them two choices, one which you can control. And so you're not just snatching it away and being like, hurry up, give it to them, right? They're crying, hurry up, right? We're saying, hey, I'm not flustered, I'm calm. I'm giving you a choice. Would you like to give that back to your friend, or do you need my help? Now, if they're like, no, I don't want to give it back. Okay, no problem. I got you covered. Then you just gently, right? We're never grabbing toys out of our hand, because think about the implications. Think about what that's modeling for our child, right? When we want something, we can just take it away and grab it forcefully. So we are being very gentle. We're being very respectful, and we're gently taking that toy out of their hand. Yes, I know. Validating, right? Yes, I know. This is hard. It is so hard. You guys both want this toy. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. Okay? In that spirit of validation, empathy, and being that helpful person for them. Okay? And then you get, if in the case, you need to help them, then you give it back. Okay? And then you can say something like, hey, bud, let so-and-so, let your child or whoever, right? Let them know when you're done, because I know she really wants to play with that toy. Or he really wants to play with that toy. He's very excited. Thank you so much for understanding. Okay? Then your child probably likely is very upset still, so you're going to go and you're going to comfort them. You're going to still praise them for giving the toy away even when they didn't want to, even if you had to help them through this, because most importantly, it's really important just to keep a positive attitude. I'm not flustered, I'm that calm, confident leader. We gonna get through this, okay? I'm gonna help you through this. Thank you so much for understanding. Thank you so much for giving that toy back. I'll help you wait, right? And it looks like they're gonna let us know when we're done. So when they're done, I'm sure they're gonna give it to you and it'll be your turn. And then, you know, what you're doing is you're ending on a positive note. And it's okay if they have those feelings, right? It's okay for them to be upset. Again, you're like, okay, do they have some other unmet needs? Are they hungry? Are they tired? Are they ready to be done with this park? Or maybe I need to just redirect them to another activity and we can be okay. But if it's ongoing fussiness and toy snatching, maybe they're trying to communicate something different to you. So always be mindful of that. So I know it's really hard to witness our child having trouble with sharing, right? Which, remember, is not developmentally appropriate for the little ones, or toy snatching and getting into those toy battles. And I know oftentimes it feels like an emergency, right? We as the adults feel powerless. We're like, I need to take back control. I need to fix this situation, and oftentimes that's not what our child needs. Now, of course, unless it's a situation where they're getting aggressive or dangerous, of course, then we need to step in. But a lot of the times, when those little squabbles, they need our help with communication and problem solving and conflict resolution, which is what we're doing when we take time to slow down and teach and not choose sides. So very important. So give this video a thumbs up if you got any value from it, if you learned anything new. Let me know in the comments below if you're struggling with this, struggling with toy battles. If you decide to give these tips a try, let me know how it goes. I love to hear what insights or what stories you have after you try the tips. Let me know what other videos you want to see from me next down in the comments. I'm always paying attention to your guys' questions so that I can offer you guys helpful videos. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I upload videos every week, so you don't miss an upload. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.